and welcome back. Joining us for our first conversation, as mentioned earlier, is Mr. Dan Thompson, visiting us from all his many journeys, running around the world to raise money for cancer research, which is an amazing initiative, doing it for a very good cause, another personal good cause as well, which we'll get into. So we want to thank you for being here, Dan. Welcome to Open Your Eyes, and welcome to Belize.
Thank you very much. Great to be here.
So, this has been an amazing journey. We know that you are running around the world for a specific cause. Tell us about what number we're at right now and why you embarked on this amazing journey.
So what I'm trying to do is complete a 10-kilometer run in every country in the world. There are 206 countries in total, and I've now done 102 countries.
Oh, you're halfway there.
Yeah, I'm almost halfway there. Almost halfway there. I'm looking forward to it, I can tell you. I'm going to run in El Salvador in the National Stadium this afternoon, and that's going to be my 103rd run. And yesterday, I ran here in Belize for various reasons. I ran at 1 p.m., so it was pretty hot for us.
Yeah.
For us people in England, we're not used to the heat, so it was a tough run, but obviously brilliant to be here. And you asked me why I'm doing this. So I've got two messages really. I'm running partly to raise money for cancer research. Raise as much money as I can in memory of my mother, who died of cancer 3 years ago. And I'm also going around the world trying to promote the message of the importance of physical exercise and activity in terms of both your physical health and your mental health.
Yeah. So we have some shots of you running there. Tell us a bit about the route that you chose, because we can see you, I believe you're on the Northern Highway, the Philip Golson Highway in Belize. Yeah.
So I was on the highway. I was, Julian from the British High Commission was kind enough to come and run with me. His timing, as I said, his timing worked out, so we need to run at 1 o'clock. So we ran along the highway. I should think we're running pretty slowly there. I was suffering quite a lot. And but the great thing about the route was we ended up at the British Army base. And when I got to the base, all the army were there clapping me in. So that was really exciting. And if anyone from the base is watching, thank you very much. I appreciated that enormously.
So is that something that's common when you go running into different countries? Do you have people that join you, or is it mostly a solo thing?
So it really varies. I sometimes run with local running clubs. I quite often run with people from the British Embassy. The British Foreign Service are very, very supportive. Sometimes I run with local contacts through friends of mine. But yeah, sometimes I just run all on my lonesome.
Oh, wow.
Now, Dan, let's go back to the beginning of this idea. I mean, you lost your mother, and perhaps you were looking for a way to be able to give back in her memory. Have you found that this is perhaps a cathartic experience for you to be able to overcome the loss?
Yeah, it was very. It's very moving for me, and you know, your question really goes to the heart of it. I was as my mother. Let's be blunt about this. As my mother was dying, we discussed this crazy project, because it is a crazy project a lot, and she was very, very supportive, and she said, you've just got to go and do that. And what it means is I'm doing something in her memory, I'm thinking about her a lot, and I'm hopefully doing something that will make a small, tiny contribution to meaning that other people who have cancer, there'll either be a cure or some treatment that will help them. And I think there are really two key things here. One is we all need to raise money for cancer research so that people come up with new research, new treatments. And then the second message, I think, is, you know that 40% of all cancers are preventable just with your lifestyle choices. If you stay active, if you don't put on too much weight, if you don't smoke. So I really want to get that message out as well. There's a lot we can do about this horrible, horrible disease, both in terms of preventing it in the first place and then the treatment afterwards.
You have to tell us more about your mom, because I have to imagine how in her last couple of weeks she can approve and come up with this crazy idea and say, Dan, go run around the world after I leave this earthly existence. Tell us about her.
So I'll never forget, we towards the end, she couldn't really move much on her own, and we were driving around the countryside. I just wanted to show her the countryside. It was for once in England a sunny day. So really
That's
lovely.
a blessing.
Yeah, it was a blessing. And she just said, you've just got to do it. She said, I didn't tell her I was going to do it for her, but she said, you've just got to go and do it. And then, the really lovely thing is that she left me some money, and that's how I fund all my travels around the world with the money that she left me. And that means that any money that anyone gives to cancer research just goes straight to charity. So I cover my own expenses, thanks to my mother. So it was, it's really something for me. It's lovely for me to be able to do something in her memory and to think about her. And I think about her almost every single run I do. So as you say, it's cathartic, and I just love to recognise what she was to me and to everyone, I think.
Well, I can imagine that so many people have been really impacted by this amazing project. Tell us about the persons that you've met along the way who have been really supportive of your running.
Do you know, it's a really great question, because the travel and the running is really hard, and the brilliant bit about this is the people you meet. And I meet people from all over the world, and that's a special thing. And the difference is when you're running with someone and hearing about their life and hearing about life in that country, that somehow the kilometers go really quickly. And when you're running on your own, my God, it takes forever. So I just love it. I meet all sorts of people from all walks of life. And the only thing that's really, I would say is common across the world, and I mean across the world, is that people are really nice. Almost everyone is really friendly. The people I run with, the people who help me, the number of times I've had problems and people have helped me around the world. So I have a really positive impression of people. They are, of course, there are horrible people out there. Let's not pretend otherwise. But the people I run with and the people I help me, so nice, so friendly, so helpful.
Now, Dan, tell us about some of the experiences that you've had. I'm sure after 102 runs, you've had some that have been pretty tough.
So I'm going to talk about some of the runs I've had that have been very hot. Now, as I said, yesterday here was hot. And I, as an English person, I can train as hard as I like back home, but I cannot train for heat. You can't train for heat in England. So I'm going to tell you about a few of those. I've had some really, really difficult experiences. I was in South Sudan. It's quite I don't know if you've been following the news there recently. There's famine, there's political strife, people are being killed. So I was a little scared, if I'm honest, when I was running there, and my flight landed. I just wanted to run, get back to the safety of the airport and get out. So I ran in the middle of the day, and after about 7 kilometers, I felt like what was coming to my head was what it was like to be a lobster being put in boiled water. And I started, my God, I'm a lobster. And then the world started going orange. So everything started going orange, and I was going slower and slower and slower, thinking I'm gonna fall over. And eventually I made it to the end, and I looked up on the internet. What was making the world go orange? It was heat stroke. I was right on the verge of heat stroke. So that was a really tough run. I had an amazing run in Egypt. It was 100 degrees Fahrenheit, and I was running around the pyramids in 100 degrees and just almost collapsing. So I've got a lot more hot weather stories, but that's a little something just to give you a taste. It's just really tough.
Tell us one of your best experiences.
I'll tell you a very story from not too long ago when I was in Mexico City. So it's my 100th run, as I already mentioned, in Mexico City. In Mexico City, they close off one of the main thoroughfares in the center of town, and I understand that they do that in Mexico, and they do that in parts of Central America as well. It was a beautiful morning. Everyone, it felt like there were thousands of people out in the street cycling and running, so I'm thinking, this is great, everyone's being really active, how fantastic. I had some really nice people come down from the British Embassy. And the center of Mexico City is beautiful, monuments, lovely buildings. So that was a beautiful, wonderful run.
Nice.
Now you also got the experience to go back home and run for Mother's Day. That had to be beautiful.
So I was lucky this time round. Mother's Day was when I was in Mexico City, which felt very appropriate. And then other times I'm back in the UK. And obviously Mother's Day is a special thing. And I was trying to remember my mother. And I always try and get my whole family to do some running as well. So we try and make a real thing of it. And I have a lovely family back in the UK who are very supportive. And my wife now runs. One of my daughter runs. And this is a really special thing we do together as a family.
What would you say is the most important message that you would want to get to families who would want to be involved in something like this? Because I think that this could really help families to bond even better than.
So
not ready.
my message is to families is to be active together.
Yeah.
It's good for you, it's good for your health, but it's also good for you as a family, your personal relationships, and it's just great fun. Now look, I know it's not always easy. Everyone's busy, everyone's got a million things to do, the children have got homework, you've got this, you've got your work to do, but it's really worth it. And just taking that hour to go for a walk or a run or a cycle ride, people can do this. So I would say that's the most important thing. Obviously, from my perspective, I love it if families also make donations, but not everybody in the world's got money to give donations, but everybody can spend a bit of time with their family, everyone can go for a walk or a run, and do something together. It's just fantastic.
So Dan, tell us how this works, because there are many people watching and saying, who has the time to take a break in life and run around the world? I mean, we understand where the finances come from, which is probably the first question.
Yeah, that's the first question everyone has. Yeah, that's exactly right.
So the second one is, what happens to the rest of your life?
So I'm 56 years old, and I've spent a lot of my time working very, very hard. And I've reached the stage in my life where I do a number of different things. I work for some charities, I advise some different companies. But I'm very lucky. I've reached the stage in my life where I don't go into an office at 9 in the morning and come back out at 9 in the evening. Because, especially back in London, everybody works, I'm sure it's the same here, everyone works very, very long hours. So I'm very lucky in one way. I'm very lucky also that I mentioned my wife and my family are very supportive. I have 2 lovely girls. And if they didn't agree to this, then I couldn't do it. But they know how important it is to me. So look, I understand that I'm very fortunate that I can take this time and do this, because I take a week, 10 days and and I run 7, 8, 9 countries, one country a day, and I push myself really hard. There's no time to look around. You're just traveling and running because I want to get back home to my family and my work. So I'm fortunate. But what we can all do, I think, as I said already, is be active, spend some time with our families if we're lucky enough to have families. So that's something everyone can do. I admit not everyone has got the time to do what I'm doing.
So you do it in blocks of time.
Exactly, because otherwise you're away from home and your family for far too long, and it costs too much as well. So it's all about pushing yourself hard, doing 1 country per day, sometimes 2 countries per day.
Now that's the part that I find to be a challenge. How do you get off a plane and then go for a run? I mean, a lot of people feel exhausted, all the air pressure and whatnot. How do you learn to prepare your body to do travel and running, and multiple runs you're saying, in one day?
So I think, I always think that there's 3 challenges in what I'm doing. One is the running, obviously. One is the travel, and one is trying to write a good blog about it all afterwards, which I do, which takes me a lot of time because I'm not a natural writer. The travel one is really hard, and it's physically at least as hard as the running. So when you're doing a lot of travel and you're changing a lot of time zones, somehow you never get any sleep. The time zones, the time in the, airplanes are not very healthy places, really, we're honest. And I've talked to people who work, stewardesses and stewards on planes about this, and they said you shouldn't do this. We don't do this. We do a long journey. We rest for 2 days before we do another. So I find that really, really tough. And the only way you can get used to it is by doing it. It's like training for anything. You kind of just get used to not much sleep, time zone differences, and then getting off a plane, I can hardly move, and then trying to do the run. So it's really, really tough.
Getting off the plane and saying, where am I?
I know. Honestly, I wake up every morning and go, which country am I in? I just can't quite remember.
So let's take it back to one of your main objectives, and that's to raise money for cancer research. How have you been able to integrate the fundraising aspect into what you're doing?
So I talk to everybody about the fundraising. Back in the UK, we have a real culture. If someone does something that's physically very tough or difficult for them, people sponsor them. So that's something we have in the UK. Some other countries have that culture, others don't. Others do things in a different way. So my attitude on this is you've got to be realistic about this. I'm going all over the world. In some countries, people can afford to donate, and I ask people who come on the runs to make a contribution, and people are very happy to do that. Other parts of the world, let's be honest, it's not so easy for people. They have more than enough uses for their money without giving to cancer research. So what I try and do is I try and be sensitive to where I am. As I say, sometimes I'm quite pushy about this. Other places I've said, you know what, I just accompany the message. That's the important thing.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I work it. So it really varies country by country.
How much have you been able to raise so far?
So far I've raised, let's turn this into Belize dollars. I've raised about 40,000 Belize dollars.
Wow.
And I'm hoping to at least double that, maybe get to 100,000 Belize dollars by the end of the Run the World challenge.
And it's all going to one specific organization?
So I've chosen Cancer Research, which is a charity based in the UK, but I've chosen them because the work they do is pure research, and then they spread it around the world.
Okay.
So I'm able to say to everybody who donates wherever they are, everyone's going to benefit. Your culture, your society, your family probably are going to benefit. So I haven't chosen a charity that does work with cancer patients in the UK. I've chosen research because I think that's good for everybody all around the world. And they have, I won't give you the medical detail, but they've sent it to me, and they've done so much great work that has helped genuinely everybody across the world.
And I think this is a really important message to get out, and you're so fortunate that you're in an age of social media. So I'm sure that your blog must do really well. Tell us a little bit more about it.
So my blog, as I said.
Have you developed the writing skills while you run?
I'm certainly a little better now than I was. And you can read my early blogs and go, oh my God, this guy can't write at all.
Yeah, the early blogs where it was hot, I ran hard, and we finished.
So you can imagine, you've got to write, I'm writing a blog for every country, and you've got to try and make it different. You can't just go, I ran 10 kilometers, it was really, really hot. I mean, you know, that's all true, but it's not very interesting. So I have to try and come up with a different theme for each blog. Write something about the country, or something special about the people I met, or something that I've done in my life, or something of general interest. And I spend hours, I write it, and then I rewrite it, and then I rewrite it, and it's still not very good. But thank you, it's a little better than it was to begin with. I get a lot more views now than I used to, and I'm almost starting to enjoy learning how to write. And for all of you in the media, I know how difficult it is doing what you're doing, creating content. It's very tough.
Which one of your blog posts has been the best received?
Do you know, oddly enough, I recently had cancer myself.
Really?
And I don't know whether you can see the scar there. So I just had a melanoma. If everybody knows what a melanoma is, it's skin cancer, but the very dangerous, scary kind that can quickly spread across your body. So I've just had that removed. I almost certainly got it because of sun exposure. Another reason I'm very wary of the sun. And I wrote a blog about this, and everyone started reading it. I was amazed. I heard from people all over the world. Then some healthcare setup institutions in the UK used the blog as a kind of to remind everyone to talk about being careful about sunshine. You know, if you've got pale, freckly skin, how important it is. So that got a huge number of views. It wasn't so much about the running, but it was more about the cancer. But it was touching. I heard from people I hadn't heard from in 20 years, of texting me, and social media, as you said, just connects everybody. So that was fantastic.
There's a great lesson to be learned in that, and that's especially having men access healthcare. Something strange about your body, something that you don't necessarily feel comfortable with. What prompted you to be able to go and check it out?
So that's a great question, and one that I want to talk a little bit about. You know, if you're seeing something change on your body, don't do nothing about it. Go and get it seen. My story was I had a red mark on my face that I could hardly even see, and you know, I don't spend a lot of time looking in the mirror for obvious reasons, and tucked away there. And my wife said that's a bit funny, and then she said that's growing. I was like, you know, typical. I think truly, you know, men particularly are very bad at getting checked up. And she nagged and nagged, and I didn't do it, and eventually she said, you've got to do it. And I went and did it, and they said, not sure, better get it checked out. They took a little bit off, and they said, you know what, it's the worst news, it's a melanoma, but we've caught it quite early. And so the truth of the matter is, it's probably thanks to my wife that...
Thanks to the nagging.
Thanks to caring a little bit. I didn't know she did care. Thanks for caring. So look, that's the message. It's a great question.
Yeah.
If something is changing on your body, just go and get it checked out. It's almost certainly nothing, but every so often, like mine, it can be life-threatening.
And when you catch it early, that's the best thing, because then you don't have to wait so far in advance where it might get more expensive, it might get more out of control to handle.
The key to this, the key to all cancers is catching it early.
Exactly.
They can do a lot if they catch it early. Any skin cancer, but almost any kind of cancer, catch it early enough and you're all right. Leave it too long and you're really at risk.
Yeah, I had a doctor tell me once prevention isn't only better than cure, it's cheaper. So that's key to remember. I can't imagine how your doctors gave you clearance to run in the sun after getting that removed. They're probably not too happy about
You must
that.
have industrial grade sunscreen.
I put a lot of sunscreen on and then I put a silly hat on top of it. Hence some of those pictures I look a bit funny. You know, I'm a mad Englishman in the sun, but you know, so it's really, I do, industrial strength is right, cover up, just cover up, however silly you feel. If you've got, especially if you've got skin of my color, cover yourself up.
Tell us a little bit about your running gear. Now that we're on that topic of what you put on to brave the elements.
So it all depends, you know, if you're running in the evening, it's fine, and I get given T-shirts all over the world. You know, running clubs give me, British Embassy gives me British T-shirts. So I get given, and I try and kind of recognize that and respect it. So I run in all different tops that people have given me, except when I'm running in the middle of the day, when I run in a shirt with a collar and dark glasses, hat, load of lotion on. So sometimes, like yesterday, I just look like a mess because I'm running in non-running gear, and sometimes I look slightly less of a mess because I'm running in gear that someone's given me around the world.
So you have a little over half plus one more countries to go to. Is there somewhere that you're really looking forward to visiting?
You know what? I'm actually having a fantastic time here in Central America. So I'm looking forward to the rest of Central America. I'm going to end up in Costa Rica, which is a country I've always wanted to go to.
Me too.
Yeah, everybody. So I'm really looking forward. And for once in my life, I'm doing a little bit of a holiday as well. After in Costa Rica.
You know, you're going to make Belizeans so jealous.
You know what? Come and join me. Do the travel and the running, and I'll take you on holiday with me.
No. So you're looking forward to Central America.
Yeah.
Where have you been most surprised by what just the country looks like? Perhaps you have expectations going in, and then you get there and you're like, this is not what I expected.
So I think I'll go back to Mexico City again. This is a very developed, beautiful city, and I'm sorry to say that I think probably people in Europe don't necessarily have the right expectations. You know, someone said to me on the day, actually, this isn't your image of Mexico, is it? And I said, possibly not, if you're honest.
Yeah.
And I think I often actually get to countries and you know, we find that the city is more advanced, more beautiful, more lovely than I expected. So that's the kind of thing, it's mostly positive, to be honest, and occasionally I go to places that disappoint me a bit.
I was going to ask you, was there any country that you were like, no, I'm not going there?
I think and I hate to say this, but I ran in Papua New Guinea recently, and everyone was just telling me, don't even go on the streets. It's you know, there's poverty, there's violence. Now Papua New Guinea is a beautiful country with incredible diversity of culture, of flora, of fauna. It should be a tourist mecca. You know, we should all be going there. Obviously, it's a long way from here, but if you've got the finance and the time, again. And yet, you know what? It's so unfortunate. There's something wrong there. And Venezuela, I hate to say, is a country with, you know, a lot of violence now and a lot of poverty, and it's, you know, it used to be a wonderful kind. I have friends who brought up there. So I think those would be a couple of countries that I'd pick out, that they are both beautiful countries. Yeah. They really are lovely countries. And for whatever reason, society isn't working as it should for the people who live there. And there's a lot of violence, and it's quite scary, if I'm honest.
Yeah. Now, I'm sure this journey has brought a new perspective for you, even in the work that you do. You get to see some of the furthest countries from where you're based, and how has it impacted you on a personal level? So you reach these milestones in your run, but beyond that, the people you interact with, the levels of poverty that you see, the levels of development in different areas. How has it changed? Has it changed you?
So I think it changes you enormously. I'm fortunate. I come from a relatively developed, relatively prosperous country, where if you lived where I live, everyone was going, oh, there's this crisis and that crisis. And what it makes you realize is that around the world, we are very fortunate, in those of us who live in countries such as the UK. We don't appreciate it, we don't understand, although we've heard about it, we don't really understand and live what other people are going through. So it changes your perspective on life. It's made me very internationally focused. It's given me a different perspective on what's happening in the UK. And my sense is that we have people around the world who are living. The world is getting richer and more prosperous. There's no doubt, but there's people living in abject poverty in awful conditions. And so it makes me think about them a lot more, about our country, my country a little less. And it makes me think that we all ought to be thinking that way and doing more internationally to help those who are living in real abject poverty.
Okay.
I hate to bring your journey to an end so quickly, but it's 2020 is pretty close. Have you started to think about what life is going to be like after this?
Another very good question. I do. I'm pretty sure that when I finished walking, I'm going to do when I finish running. I wasn't a Freudian slip. I am running everywhere. When I finish running, I'm going to do a big walking challenge. So I'm going to keep the traveling going, and I'm going to walk all around the world and keep trying to spread the message.
Nice.
I think the travel bug has definitely bitten you.
It's bitten me. I hate the travel, but it's bitten me. It's in my system now.
Have you completed your blog on Belize yet?
No. So what I do is I go back to the UK and I do one blog a week. So actually, the blog on Belize won't be out for a little bit.
Okay.
I try and just leave a bit of space between my blogs so that the people who read all of them don't get too bored.
So you keep them hungry.
Yeah.
Well, Dan, we know today you leave to go to El Salvador to continue your run around the world. And we really want to give you the opportunity to speak out to our viewers once again about why you're doing this and how they can make changes in their own life and show support to the initiative.
So, there are two main objectives of what I'm doing here. One is to raise money for cancer research. And if anybody would like to donate, look up Just Giving. I don't know if everyone's familiar with Just Giving here. So Just Giving, Dan Thompson, that's my name, 11. Just Giving, Dan Thompson, 11. Search on that. Please, if you are able to, make a donation. Even the smallest possible donation really helps everyone across the world. Second message, please, please, please be active. I know I've done the research here. I know what's happening in Belize, which is the same as everywhere else, with more heart disease, more cancer, and more diabetes. If we are active, we can stop a large percentage of that. So just please go out there. I'm not talking about the super sporty people, I'm talking about all of us. Go out there. You may not enjoy being active. You don't have to do sport, but it's just about doing that little walk. It's about doing maybe a short run, just a little bit more than you're already doing, and that will be really good for you.
Okay, Dan. Well, thank you for coming in and sharing with us the details of this wonderful experience that you're undertaking. We wish you the best of luck.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
All right. We wish you cool temperatures and travel mercies. We're going to go ahead now, though, and take a break. And when we come back, we're going to be talking about the first annual Light Our Hearts Women's Rally with Shakira Young.